Statele Unite au un rol esențial în lume, dar felul în care își folosesc puterea se schimbă constant. Washingtonul jonglează cu decizii care afectează întreaga lume. Asta determină țările partenere să fie mai atente, dar și să învețe să aibă o voce mai puternică. Fostul ambasador american în Polonia, Daniel Fried, ne dă câteva idei despre cum anume se poate face asta. Sunt Cristina Cileacu, începe Pasaport diplomatic. Daniel Fried, former U.S. Assistant Secretary General for Europe, welcome to Diplomatic Passport.
Thanks for having me.
Ambassador, we recorded our last interview to this very program immediately after Donald Trump won the elections in the United States, and almost 1 year after, I have to ask you, is America great again?
That's a trick question. There's no way to answer that without getting in trouble. I think that the Trump administration in foreign policy has been better than many expected. Now, the Trump administration is not a single thing. It is a collection of very different and mutually inconsistent factions. This is just a fact, okay? And these factions compete for influence, and you in Romania can see this. You can sense the fight. And that has led to a number of very legitimate concerns, particularly in this part of the world. Mixed messages on Ukraine, mixed messages on Russia, mixed messages on NATO. However, having said all that, the general trend of the Trump administration has more or less been in a better direction on European security, on NATO, on Ukraine. Not completely, not as much as I would like, but generally better, and certainly not as bad as many people feared. Is America great again? We were never not, but that's a partisan question. Fair enough to ask, but the way I answer it is the Trump administration is not one thing, it's many things, but having said that, we're at least moving in a better direction than many people feared, and a better direction than Vladimir Putin hoped.
How shall we fight for this influence? Because, as you said, it's a competition. How can we win as Romania, as Eastern Europe, the attention of Donald Trump? Because we see Poland, we see Czech Republic, we see even Hungary. Where shall we put Romania in this bucket?
You're absolutely right. Romania needs to get into the game. Be active in Washington. Now, I work at the Atlantic Council. We are bipartisan. And I will say this right now, this is a standing offer. We want to be able to help Romania and help Romanians when they come to Washington with the best advice we have about what's going on. And we're happy to do so. Romania has helped create this century's edition of the free world, a free world that is bigger and better than it was during the Cold War. And Romania helped create this free world. Now it is under attack by Vladimir Putin, and there are doubts about it from within. All through Europe and the United States, there are people who don't recognize the value of what we have done together since 1989. And Romania can be in this fight. Moreover, Romania has certain advantages. Like Poland, you are a country that takes its own defense seriously. The Trump world likes this. You believe in patriotism, family, you're proud of your Romanian culture. Trump world loves all of these things. These are good things. There is a common language between Romania, between the Romanian government and Trump world, and Romanians and Trump world. Of course, you need to keep up the dialogue with the Democrats, with the U.S. opposition, but Romania has friends in Washington. It does not have enemies. Now, having said that, Romanians who follow U.S.-Romanian relations know that our politics is, shall we say, complicated, and that some of our political leaders, and I'm thinking of Vice President Vance, have said things which I think were too partisan. Romanian politics are not our business as Americans. That is the business of Romanians. And we should stay away from it, and we should be willing to talk to everybody, right? And
right.
I think you know perfectly well what I'm saying.
We know that Donald Trump used to have a TV show, and "You're fired" was the motto or the best line of the show. It seems to be also the main line for his own administration, because since Trump administration, the second one, started, a lot of public servants lost their job. A lot of U.S. agencies were closed or dismantled. How strong are now the U.S. institutions if we talk about the American power reflected in Washington?
Well, that's a rough question, and frankly, it's a fair one, I hate to say. It's a fair question, because Trump and Trump world have made downsizing the U.S. government one of their objectives. I think this is a mistake. They believe that part of what they call the deep state, which I think is the professionals in government, are sometimes a problem with their own agenda. I think this is wrong, but it doesn't matter what I think. He's the president. So it has been a very difficult time. That said, the State Department is in reasonably good shape. I know the people who are responsible for policy with this part of Europe, with Romania in particular. They are solid people. So it's some of the exuberance by the Trump administration is not new in our politics. So a little patience and context. And again, my advice to Romanians is get to Washington and
knock on the doors.
Yeah, get there and work. Work with the different groups. Work with the Republicans in Congress, with the Democrats. There are lots of think tanks and experts. And Romania is playing an important role. It has a lot to say. And I welcome Romania's voice. It's important.
How strong are the Democrats after they lost the presidential elections last year? The party, from Romanian side perspective, looks like it's fading out. Looks like there is no leadership. Looks like there is no real involvement in the U.S. politics. How shall we see that from your perspective, from Washington?
They got clobbered in the 2024 elections. However, just a couple of weeks ago, in by-elections, they did extremely well. They won 2 big races for governor, and not only did they win, but most or all of the counties in Virginia and New Jersey shifted toward the Democrats. So it was a big success. Look, American politics goes back and forth. The Democrats, as you say, were clobbered. They were just stomped on in 2024. But Trump's margin of victory was not enormous. It was decisive, but not enormous. Now the Democrats have come back. Don't forget that American politics swings from Republicans to Democrats and back again. And when the Republicans are down, they think they'll be down forever. And they're not. They're not. When the Democrats are down, they think they'll be down forever. And they're not. So they could come back. In the meantime, the question is, what common positions do Republicans and Democrats share that Romania can work with? And the answer is quite a bit, despite the political fighting. Now, this is not easy for foreign diplomats and officials to work with, but there is something to work with. There is still common ground. Even within Trump world, where there are different views, there are a number of people within the Trump world, which is after all a coalition, not a single thing, who believe in the free world, who believe in NATO, who believe in the transatlantic alliance, believe in resisting Russia's aggression. So there are people with whom Romanians can work.
Even Donald Trump believes in all that, after all. I mean, he is the president of the United States and have this view. But looking to his favorite movement, the MAGA movement, he seems to lose the grip because people inside MAGA accuse President Trump that he's so much into foreign affairs, taking care of the world problems, and very little into domestic affairs. Will Donald Trump continue to control this movement, or is splitting? How do you see it?
I'm smiling because Donald Trump is not the first U.S. president to discover that foreign affairs gives the president more latitude for decision-making. Now, it also means you can make very big mistakes. But domestic policy is difficult because you have to have Congress with you, because you don't have as much decision-making power as you'd like. So presidents have been trying to be active in foreign affairs and then are accused often of doing so at the expense of work at home. So this is not new. I don't think that the MAGA movement is splitting, but you are right when you say that there are now voices critical of Trump within MAGA that there didn't used to be before. And the fact is that because the Republicans did so badly in the by-elections, that some Republicans are feeling politically more capable of disagreeing with Trump. This isn't new, but Trump is discovering it for the first time. He is a charismatic, politically powerful, very savvy figure. But that doesn't mean he controls everything, and he doesn't control it forever. And the laws of political gravity apply to him as well. But he was so dominant and so skilled that many Americans forgot this. They thought, where Trump goes, Trump always wins. Well, maybe not. But he's president. He's going to be president for 3
more years, yeah.
And much depends on the debates within the Trump administration about the direction of our foreign policy. And Trump, of course, has a great talent for overturning things, breaking things, creating headlines and controversy, and many of the things he does I disagree with. Doesn't matter. He's going to do this, and then the question is, what is the impact on the world?
Back to what Donald Trump does at home as well, because most of the Americans that voted for him liked very much his proposals during the campaign, and one of that proposals was related to the cost of living in the United States.
Right.
We saw that President Trump imposed and keep on imposing a lot of tariffs to even allies other than enemies. But do they work? How is the cost of living now in the United States if we have to compare it with last year?
Inflation in the United States is not actually that high. But Trump didn't campaign on a promise to lower inflation. He campaigned on a promise to lower prices. That he has not done. And tariffs do not lower prices, they raise prices. A little bit or a lot. Trump comes in, raises tariffs, prices go up somewhat, and Trump is now on the defensive for exactly this reason. There are arguments to be made in favor, not exactly of protectionism, but in favor of pushing back against the Chinese exploitation of the system. And I don't think we're ever going back to a world of completely free trade. But Donald Trump's use of tariffs has been so dramatic, sometimes capricious, that it is quite possibly slowing economic growth and raising inflation, and it is under some legal challenge right now. It's not clear to me how this ends up. But there are 2 levels of this discussion. One is the daily drama of Trump. Tariffs, new tariffs, tariffs to punish people, tariffs for political retaliation, tariffs for protection. And the second is the strategic economic debate about free trade versus fair trade. And then there's another debate, which is how we can cooperate with our friends on critical areas of trade like defense industries and defense trade. So we need to sort this out, and it's hard to do when the Trump administration is so dramatic, but we have to do it. And these debates will continue, and the European Union needs to be able, at the one hand, to handle the daily drama of Trump, but on a second level, to work with Trump when it's possible to do so, because we need to work together and not get bogged down in a huge fight, because then Putin and the Chinese gain and we lose.
And in this fight, as you call it, is the United States still on the side of Ukraine? This is something we see, but then again, this daily drama of Trump with ups and downs makes it more complicated to understand. And the question is, will Donald Trump continue to push Vladimir Putin to come and sit down to agree to something like a ceasefire, because the peace is something far away?
One, I can't give you guarantees.
Nobody can.
Two, we are better off than we were, let's say, on February 28th, the blow-up in the Oval Office. So Trump goes hot and cold, and you know this. However, the general trend, if you look beyond the zigzags, the general trend has not been bad. That is, President Trump seems to really want to end the war. And he's willing to pressure either Ukraine or Russia to do so. Now, I think he needs to support Ukraine and pressure only Russia, but I'm not the president. He's pressured both. Zelensky now accepts Trump's basic position of a ceasefire in place right now, and then some security for Ukraine, but not NATO membership. Now, I think Ukraine ought to be in NATO, but again, it doesn't matter what I think. I'm not the president. That could work. A ceasefire now, along the existing line of contact, hope not U.S. recognition of illegal Russian annexation, but a simple ceasefire, and security for Ukraine. That could work. That would be a strategic defeat for Putin, because Putin doesn't just want the Donbass, he wants all of Ukraine. Trump has been pushing this. Putin has been resisting. Putin is not interested in serious negotiations. He's demanding Ukraine's surrender. And so far, Trump has become less patient with Putin. And just a couple of weeks ago, the Trump administration introduced its first new sanctions against Russia, which were pretty good. It is pressure on the Russian economy. That means there's something to work with. Romanians would not be human if they weren't concerned about the inconsistent messages sometimes coming from Washington. I understand that perfectly. Romanians are right to be concerned. But I wouldn't give up. One of my rules for thinking about Trump is that it is almost never as bad as you fear, but not as good as you hope. But still within that, moving in a generally right direction. Now, another thing to keep in mind, as I've said before, the Trump administration is not one thing. It is a collection of competing groups, some of which are more pro-Ukrainian, some of which have other views. These different groups have very different strategic points of departure, very different schools of thought, and they are always competing. This is not unique to the Trump administration. We had similarly competing groups within the Reagan administration. So this is not new. Romania can have some impact on this debate.
How can Romania be relevant enough for United States in this region. What if you were the representative of Romania? Let's say you're not the president, of course, but if you are a Romanian going to negotiate with the Trump administration, what would you put on the table?
First, and I hate to say this, but as a kind of entry ticket, Romania needs to be devoting resources to its own defense. You know, getting ready to reach the target of 3.5% on defense plus 1.5% on defense-related expenditures. That's important to Trump because he believes that Europe has to do more for its own defense. And there is a consensus within Trump world, within this coalition, that Europe has to do more. So that is basically an entry card. Romania is doing a lot for its own defense. They take that seriously. So if Romania has a clear and credible pathway to this kind of defense spending, then it has certain political advantages that it can use. Like Poland, Romania is patriotic. Like Poland, it is, in American political terms, socially conservative. Romanians they believe in family and faith, and they are proud people. They are proud of their culture. All of these things are things that Trump world likes and appreciates. They tend to like and appreciate countries in this part of Europe. So that gives Romania some entree. And then Romania can start talking to the Americans about how we can work together. We Romanians are not asking the Americans to save us. We are asking for a partnership with the U.S. We will do our part. This has been a Polish message. It works.
Ambassador Fried, thank you so much for this talk.
My pleasure.
Atât pentru astăzi, dar rămânem în continuare online pe pagina de Facebook a emisiunii și pe conturile noastre de X și Instagram. Revenim cu subiecte noi din lumea diplomației și a politicii externe, vinerea viitoare de la 11:30 și reluare sâmbătă după miezul nopții. La revedere!